So I was sitting there watching some of the reactions to the State of the Union address last night. I didn't watch it. I'm not going to sit there and watch a bunch of old gas bags go on and on about the same stuff they go over every year. And we already know what to expect from the President of the United States. Now, I've said time and again, I'm no huge Trump supporter, but I'm definitely not in support of the things that are going on right now within the Congress. And I don't know, cheaper than therapy, felt need to actually vent this out. First of all, the impeachment is a scam. I would have thought the impeachment was a scam. If it had happened to President Obama, if it had happened to George W., I kind of thought the impeachment against Bill Clinton was a scam. There are bigger problems at hand here. But as far as the State of the Union goes, a couple things. First, to point out some glaring inconsistencies that the left is just, celebrating like it's the end-all, be-all, jab at the president. Nancy Pelosi tearing up the man's speech at the end of it. She was getting a useless piece of paper off her desk. That speech is going to have no bearing on anything moving forward. She tore it up. So what? She threw it away. She did it at the end of the speech. It's not like she did it at the very beginning once he handed it to her. That would have been really, speaking out or doing something. And the fact that President Trump wouldn't shake her hand, the right reveres that as being, ooh, the ultimate snub, man, that's so savage. And the left is, oh my God, I can't believe he snubbed. Look, dude, she and Schiff and the rest of them have done nothing but attempt to discredit and oust this man from office to undermine the people of the United States of him being the duly elected president since he came into office, because she doesn't like him. Hillary Clinton's a murdering bitch, and y'all would have rather had her. She's a career politician, just like her husband. For those of you that say she isn't, why don't you look at a history book? Because for 20 years, she's been in the political landscape, and not as the first lady. You can go back 30 years, almost anyway, actually more than 30 years, and she's been in politics. Don't get life twisted, man. Okay? The president has done an okay job in some things and has done a not okay job in others. The far left will sit there and say, oh man, she snubbed him so hard. And no, she didn't. She probably doesn't have any speeches from any previous State of the Union addresses. She definitely wasn't going to frame this one and put it up in her study at home. Or actually, should I say, in her wet bar. Okay? And the president not shaking her hand? Well, so what? She's trying to literally come after him and get him kicked out of the office he was duly elected to. I wouldn't shake her hand either. It's not a snub. It's just like, look, I don't like you. Here it is. Here's the thing. I'm required to give it to you. But I'm not going to go above and beyond. As far as the far right going on about, yeah, man, he totally snubbed Nancy. No. But the far right has even bigger problems. The President of the United States delivered the State of the Union address, and in doing so, he gave a radio talk show host the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Nothing in Rush Limbaugh's history, nothing that the man has ever done warrants such an award at all. The highest civilian honor the president can bestow upon somebody was given to Rush Limbaugh. The man did not champion freedom of speech. The man did not champion anything except basically being a jackass on the radio. He is just as toxic to the political landscape as Rachel Maddow is on her show on whatever channel. It's one of the NBCs. I can't remember which one. And I only know that because I banged a chick who was so far left-leaning and doesn't know her ass from a hole in the ground when it comes to politics, who used to watch her religiously. And actually, that's what forms her entire political thought. Whatever that TV says, she believes. And it comes down to watching social media and seeing the far right and the far left attempt to duke it out in their Facebook social justice war, where they're going to get a participation trophy, both sides, for saying bad things about the other side of the political spectrum. You guys look like a bunch of morons. First of all, the left wants to sit there and say, oh, well, President Trump is a misogynist, a racist, a bigot, a homophobe, transphobe, agoraphobe, all kinds of phobes. And yes, I do know what agoraphobe means. They just love to throw the word phobe out there. But the same people that are saying he's that way are the exact same way they claim he is toward people who hold different political ideas. And the sad part about it is the people that say that we should be more inclusive and more understanding and this and that are the very people that are not inclusive and hate just for hate's sake. One of whom is a drug-addicted, not recovering, drug addicted, homosexual, who only gets their quote-unquote knowledge from the news media, a severely biased news media that, if you want, I can go back and look up a whole ton of reports, screenshots that I've taken, reports of the news media outlets and what they say about the State of the Union. But the Republicans, or the far righties, the trumpeters, whatever you want to call them, have another problem. State of the Union is not for presenting awards like the Presidential Medal of Freedom. It's not for, you throw in that little feel-good story, the politicking or playing to the crowd, where it's, oh, we're going to bring your husband home early. Oh, we'll get a standing ovation. That's for America. No, it's not, man. The dude left his post. Was he properly relieved from his post? Because I remember that being General Order number 1 of the United States Army. That's one of the first. There's 3 general orders you got to remember, and that's the very first one. I will guard everything within the limits of my post and quit my post only when properly relieved. And his post was supposed to be in Afghanistan. President brings him home for some publicity stunt and does it at the State of the Union. No, the State of the Union is designed to inform Congress and the American people how our economy is doing, what threats we have facing us from foreign entities such as Iran, etc. Don't turn this into a freaking circus, and that's kind of what Trump did yesterday. There's a lot of conservative ideals that I have. There's a lot of liberal ideals that I have. So, and I'm going to tell you right now, what he did, he could have just as easily, if he wanted to give Rush Limbaugh the Presidential Medal of Freedom, he could have waited until the day after and invited the son of a bitch to the White House. If he wanted to surprise this lady, he could have done all of that at a separate ceremony. Instead, he chose to do it in front of Congress as some sort of political stunt to say, see, the liberals, they don't support America. You can simultaneously support the troops and not support combat actions in foreign countries such as Afghanistan and Iraq and Iran or wherever else. It is possible. You can want them to come home and serve as what they're supposed and serve under the capacity they're supposed to as national defense, meaning defending our nation, not our nation's oil interests, not our nation's monetary interests overseas. Come on. It'd be one thing if we were over there eliminating, say, civil rights, oppression in foreign countries. It'd be one thing if we were doing that, but we're not. It kills me. And then it's these same people, these far right nut jobs, they're going on about the Super Bowl halftime show and trying to make that, turning that into some kind of political or racial thing. That same very gay, drug-addicted individual who gets his entire set of knowledge from the news media, and if you want, I will call some of these people out by name. All you gotta do is comment on this video. I'll send you screenshots of their profiles on Facebook. I'm sure some of you will probably be like, oh yeah, man, way to go. I can't believe this dude did that. And then it'll start this whole thing because I live in a small town in Winchester, Virginia. And that person will probably be like, I can't stand that dude. Well, good. I don't like you either. But the Super Bowl halftime show, oh my God, Shakira and J-Lo got there and they sang in Spanish, my God. And then they flew a Puerto Rican flag. No, actually on the other side of that there was an American flag. And it was a blanket, and I think it was disrespectful to both flags to wear that as a blanket shawl overthrow, as you're not supposed to do that with flags of a nation or of a territory governed by said nation. Puerto Rico is not its own country, people. It's part of the United States. It's a U.S. territory. It's not a state, but it enjoys the same freedoms and protections that we do here in the contiguous 48 states. If you don't know what contiguous means, I suggest you pick up a book. Alaska and Hawaii. It'd be no different than if they had a Hawaiian performer get up there. If they'd have flown the Cuban flag, different story. But then for you people making it about, oh, women's rights. Oh, yes, it's all about women. They're 50 years old and they're out there shaking it like strippers. And it's what they did. Let's face facts. I enjoyed it. I was hoping for a wardrobe malfunction. But what's funny is the same people who are saying, let's defend women's rights, let's defend Hispanic culture, we're saying the same thing about the wardrobe malfunction. That's not celebrating women's rights. That's wanting to exploit a woman's body. A 50 and 43-year-old woman who look really fucking hot out there shaking it like strippers. I bet you women that are like, oh, well, you're just mad because you don't have an ass, Karen. No, they were mad because they hold a certain set of quote-unquote Christian values and they think that they're protect women back. And in a manner of speaking, they did. I'm not saying they should go out there dressed like the Amish, but just go out and showcase your vocal talents. And by the way, the vocal talent, there's no way that that was actually Shakira's voice in some of those songs with the way she was moving. Because she's not that great into cardio to keep that standard steady breath without any shaking in her voice during the beginning of her performance. I watched the Super Bowl and its halftime show. Watched the whole thing. You same women that are bitching about the way they were dressed had no problem with that homo from Maroon 5, Adam Levine, taking his shirt off. And you know what? I'm pretty sure you probably don't. Oh, he said the word homo. Well, that's not a derogatory term. If you are in fact a homosexual, then homo's just a nickname, isn't it? Or do we not believe in nicknames anymore? Which means every one of you should stop calling Trump supporters trumpeters, trumpers, bigots, racists, fascists, because the fact of the matter is Bernie Sanders right now is leading in the Iowa caucuses, or he was up until there was some kind of recount because Hillary Clinton's counters, apparently they didn't get the count from Sesame Street, didn't get it right. Pete Buttigieg, or however the hell you say his name, apparently is ahead by like 0.5% or something. But Bernie Sanders would love to thrust this country into socialism and communism. Now, that is a point that the president did touch on, and he was right. It has no place in the United States. Capitalism is not destroying you. You same people that say capitalism is destroying you and that it's capitalism's fault that you're poor and can't afford this and can't afford that are the same people that said you go out there and work hard for yours and you do it all yourself. You can't have it both ways because going out there and working hard for yours and doing it all yourself is in fact the very definition of capitalism. A constitutional republic leaves that which is earned by the individual to the individual. But you got to go out and earn it. If the government gives it to you, you haven't earned anything, therefore it's not yours. And you already live in a social state. And most of you people making these claims probably receive these governmental benefits and therefore are subject to the social state. I mean, for the love of God, if you're at least going to be an idiot, be an informed idiot. Okay? Have some kind of valid argument to back yourself up. Both the left and the right are just so far gone right now, it's not even funny. You know, you guys want to sit there and talk about halftime shows. You guys want to talk about speeches being torn in two. You want to talk about dog and pony shows that went on at a speech where none of those dog and pony shows should have actually taken place. What you don't want to discuss is the actual injustices that are taking place right now in our country. For example, for you left, either you know, moderate left or far lefters who love to talk about injustice, social injustice, civil injustice, all that other kind of bullshit, right? Women's rights, minorities' rights. Well, here's one. How about the rights of the disabled? Because disabled people, and in the communist wealth of Virginia, this is still a thing. In fact, I think in 46 of the 50 states, this is still a thing. Disabled people don't even have to be paid minimum wage. Imagine you're walking into Walmart and you see the greeter standing there, and the greeter happens to have Down syndrome. Okay? Now, my interactions with people with Down syndrome, and most what they refer to as mentally challenged people, although I don't necessarily think they're the ones that are mentally challenged, they greet you with a smile and a genuine enthusiasm to see you and make your day feel better, or make you feel better about your day. They will stand there for an 8 or 10 hour shift because they want to make people happy. They want to work. They want to be viewed as just as capable as everyone else. We love to talk about how women are just as capable as men, and blacks are just as capable as whites, and illegals are just as capable as citizens. But one thing you idiots don't want to talk about is how disabled people are just as capable of doing things. And you have that person as you walk into like Walmart or Costco, and they have Down syndrome, right? And they greet you with that genuine magical smile, and they say hello and welcome to, or maybe they work at McDonald's or Chick-fil-A or Starbucks, and they greet you with, just such genuine happiness and acceptance for who you are, not knowing a thing about you. Now that same person doesn't even have to get paid the federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour, and then you people will sit there and say, Oh, but they get paid disability. Well, yeah, and disability ain't that much. I don't know if you people have ever tried to live on disability. I personally haven't, but I have several friends that have and do. And it doesn't go much above, it's like being in the military. You don't get much of a living wage there. The only difference is you don't, between the military and that is, the military will give you the barracks. These guys don't get housing provided to them. Not the way the military does. They don't get health care provided to them the way the military does. These people are literally fending for themselves. They got to get a job, and they don't even have to be paid minimum wage. So what the government is telling us and what you people are supporting by not being an activist for that is, they aren't worth more than minimum wage. They aren't worth a living wage. Let them die. It's time that you people stop looking at our government as our leaders and looking at them for what they really are. Representatives of the people. This country is governed by the people, not the ones in Washington. We elect them to delegate. We delegate to them our wishes for what is supposed to go on in government, be it laws, benefits, compensation, all of it. And they're doing none of it. And they are leaving behind, very quickly leaving behind, some of the most vulnerable citizens in this country. And y'all just don't give a shit. You don't care. You want to do something real? Stand up for some shit that matters. Don't stand up for just trying to get Trump out of office. Don't stand up for just bashing Trump supporters. And by the way, Trump supporters, don't put this guy on a pedestal and hero worship him. You talk about being Christians and you talk about, being moral and this and that. Try picking up the Bible and reading Revelation. You guys, this is your false prophet. Somebody on my Facebook page literally said, I'm voting for Trump in 2020 and 2024 and 2028. Hey, dumbass, 2020 would be the second term he could serve and then he has to leave. And there better not be any kind of introduction or talk of an introduction of an amendment to repeal the amendment that says the president's limited to 2 terms. The only talk needs to be of an amendment that limits congressmen and senators to only so many terms. Congressmen and senators should only be able to serve 8 years, the same way the president. And while we're at it, Supreme Court justices should not have a lifetime appointment. Give them, 16 years from their appointment. Stop with the lifetime benefits for Congress. Stop with the lifetime benefits for the presidency. Stop with the lifetime benefits of any elected official at the federal level or appointments. And while we're at it, why do we even have appointed justices? Why don't we have voting for that too? If we're going to make an amendment to get rid of some of the inconsistencies and stuff like that, let's get rid of that. Right now, the Republicans will lose their freaking minds. But here soon, the Democrats will lose their freaking minds because guess what? The next time they appoint a Democrat to the Supreme Court of the United States of America, Democrats, oh no, they need to be there for life. They're the champions of progressive thinking. Let me tell you something. Left wing, right wing, both parts of the same bird, and there is nothing progressive about the way y'all think. None of you. You want progressive? Let's start fixing the problems at home. Let's kick the illegals out, because illegal, by definition, implies the criminality. Kick them out, start taking care of our own house. I love to see these Facebook posts by these same liberals who want all these illegals coming in, talking about, well, if you are concerned about a house you don't pay bills in, then you got life messed up. Well, what happens when the United States of America and the leftists want to be concerned about the humanitarianism of every other country but our own? Homelessness for children, disabled people not getting paid a living wage. Veterans coming home not being able to deal with the demons. Not getting the proper health care, none of that. Teachers not getting paid. Hell, teachers not even being able to teach. But that's for another time. I live in the communist wealth of Virginia that is slowly turning into Eastern California, and that's not a good thing because California is one of the most corrupt, hypocritical, worthless pieces of land in the United States based upon its political makeup. And at that same time, so are the overly conservative, like far-right Trump worshipers. Do not confuse my political beliefs because I don't believe everything you believe with being, some crazed conservative hack. And definitely don't start trying to trash down the way I feel about things because it doesn't fall in line with your quote-unquote liberal progressive ideals. I'm not going to apologize for using the words homo. I'm not going to apologize for, and if this person ever watches this video, calling this individual out for being such a freaking idiot. Because it's the truth. And you ain't got to like it. You use drugs to escape your reality. Unfortunately, it took you to some kind of alternative universe where, I don't know, reality just doesn't seem to be there. You've lost touch with it. You want to, get out of this country and go live in a liberal utopia somewhere that more fits your ideals, where you can worship the Muslims and all that other kind of stuff. Fine, move to Iran. See how your homosexuality and drug addiction treats you over there. Because I guarantee you that every single one of you liberal hacks out there that's bitching about the president, every one of you Trump worshipers that bitches about the drug addicts and the homosexuals and all that other kind of stuff, every single one of you that does stuff like that moves to another country that you think shares your ideals, you're going to be in for a seriously rude awakening.